Okay. Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. And we are starting the meeting today at 10:01. And since we already know the introductions, Jenny, is there any people here?
Jeannie
You're
Butler,
muted.
yeah, sorry. Jeannie Butler is joining us today, and I don't see anybody else right now.
Okay. And do we have a quorum for the adoption of agenda? Jenny?
She appears.
We do.
Heidi,
Oh, there.
you
We
do?
do.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, do you
Okay.
want me to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Yes, please.
I so move. Commissioner Mayor.
Commissioner Mayor adopt the agenda, and who would like to second that?
Well, Chair King will second it.
Okay, Mark King, Commissioner, second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All those? Okay. And we're going down to the review and approval of prior meeting minutes. Who would like to?
I move that we adopt the minutes as presented, Commissioner Mayor.
Commissioner Mayor adopt the minutes. Who would like to second that? I'll second that. This is
Okay.
okay.
I'll second it.
Commissioner McIntyre seconded, and so did Commissioner Mark seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? Okay, it's now moved on both agenda and minutes. So, who's got some announcements? Jenny, would you like to have announcements?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Adams. It's with a heavy heart that I announce that the chair of our commission, Marcia Wenzel, passed away this week. And I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to honor her during this meeting. And I've opened it up to staff as well if they would like to share some thoughts. I know that Marcia was concerned that nobody would remember her, but she is absolutely unforgettable, and she made such a huge difference for the commission and the people living with disabilities in Oregon and older adults. She was a fierce advocate. She asked hard questions. She always shared her thoughts and ideas, which was greatly appreciated. She was part of the commission for over 10 years, and so we all worked pretty closely with Marcia, and it's a huge loss for us and for Oregon. I know that she was born in Canada and she'll be returning to Canada soon. She has an amazing history, and I'm learning more and more about her, and I'll share that with you as I learn more and if there's going to be a memorial. But she used to be an elementary school teacher in New York and was also a nanny. And one of the interesting things is one of the children that she taught in elementary school became a senator. She was also on a committee to save lighthouses. Her uncle was a lighthouse keeper, and so that was a passion of hers. She came to Salem about 20 years ago, and she was excited to be able to see the Capitol from her apartment. And so she loved living downtown in Salem and being part of the community. So as I learn more, I will share that with you. But I just wanted to put on public record that Marcia made an incredible difference. She will be missed by the commission and the Oregon Department of Human Services for sure. So I wanted to use this time to open it up to commissioners if there were any thoughts that they would like to share about Marcia and then to our staff.
Who would like to go first?
Well, I would like to say something, Commissioner Mayor. I didn't know Marcia personally, but I've been very impressed with her as I got to know her a little bit better through the OHCC meetings and all of that. I think Jenny said a lot of the same things that I would believe as well, is that she was very knowledgeable. She was very caring. She asked very, very good questions. She kept us involved about what was going on in the community. And I think she will be missed. And just from your listing, Jenny, of the wonderful things she did, and I didn't realize she'd been on the commission that long, but she will be very hard to replace and certainly very missed.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I forgot to mention that Marcia was also the co-chair of the Oregon Disabilities Commission.
Oh,
Yeah, I will miss her. She always had good questions and good comments. A very, very smart lady.
Commissioner
This is
Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson. I had the privilege of working ever since I've been on the commission with Marcia, and I guess, just some impressions. You know, when you had both Ruth and Marcia on the commission, that was a tough team. You know, they were kind of bookends. You know, in my mind, they provided some unique perspectives. Had some common experiences, obviously, with being on services and so forth. But one of the things I think about Marcia is how she was just always advocating, and she was always engaged with the topic at hand. She would join subcommittees. She would be part of work groups. She was part of the internal review committee. She did whatever she could, above and beyond just what it was to show up for the commission meetings. And and I also appreciate her approach. She was, she had no airs. She wasn't trying to impress. She just was sharing her perspective, her experience, asking good questions, providing good input. I remember that video that maybe some of you have seen about the person-centered care a few years ago that Matt did with Ruth and Marcia. It was just classic, Marcia and Ruth, as they kind of shared their passion to see person-centered care for in-home consumers, particularly those with significant functional needs. So I just think of her as just one of those incredible advocates who move the needle significantly, in my opinion, not only on the commission, but through her other efforts in the state of Oregon for individuals who have disabilities or who need support. She was a real advocate for person-centered care. She often shared stories about her own experience receiving in-home services, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that was helpful. We desperately need to hear that, I believe, as a commission. And I'm gonna, I think we're all gonna miss her. I'm gonna miss her as well, just because I was always looking to hear her voice or her perspective when we were discussing something. So, yeah, it was a shock when Ginny shared this information. I knew she'd been absent in the last couple of meetings. I wasn't sure all that was going on. But yeah, we're going to miss her. And I'll just say this one last thing. And I don't know, I can make a motion later, but I think it would be good as a minimum if we had some type of a tribute for her on the website, at least for a period of time or in some other format, um, just to again acknowledge the contribution she made and our appreciation for that. Thank you.
And this is Commissioner Adams. In just a amount of time that I've known Marcia, she would turn to me at times when we'd be speaking on the phone. And I don't know her that well, but we had a very good conversations about a lot of things. And she would ask questions of me of the information that I could give her, on information that she got stuck on. We worked a little bit as a team, and she really wanted the knowledge and stuff to not as well as help herself, but to help others in a way that she didn't have answers for. I was willing to give her the answers that she was seeking. I do know that she will be missed by me and by others on this committee. And I will agree with Commissioner Johnson as far as bringing in honor of Marcia on a web page, if we could do that. She will be sorely missed. Anybody else? David?
You must have sensed me, George, because I was actually going to raise my hand just now. I think the best thing I can say about Marcia is that with all my years working with her through here at the commission, is that she was a teacher at her very core. She was so passionate about other people's learning and really what it meant to be a teacher, not just teaching others and helping them gain knowledge, but helping that person grow into themselves. And Marcia was always about that. And she infused it in all of her conversations, all of her interactions, and every time she reviewed anything for me on the internal review committee or at the training committee, that was what she cared about, is people being the best versions of themselves and being allowed the space to have that, to grow into that and to be that. So it was a big loss the other day for sure.
Commissioner Butler, anything you want to say?
Hi, thank you. Sadly, I didn't have much opportunity to get to know Marcia. I was only able to observe in the, I think maybe it was just 2 meetings that I've attended, but I did know Ruth well, and I could see that she had that same passion. It just is inspiring to watch their advocacy and being in Salem, and of course, at the O4AD meetings that we would have quarterly in Salem, which is all of the aging network. I believe Marcia attended some of those meetings too. So I wish I had the opportunity to get to know her a little bit more. So it's very sad news.
Heidi?
Well, I spoke to Marcia mostly about our commission meeting documents, but we would also talk about what's going on in our personal lives, and she really took an interest in other people. So I will miss that about her.
Is there anybody else that wants to say something before we move on? Okay, Marcella or Marisol?
Masara. I'm with the Oregon Home Care Commission, and I was very saddened by the news of Marcia passing. I worked along with her when I was coordinating the work of the DDMH committee. And I remember when I started my work in that committee, how welcoming and thoughtful she was, um and just like her guidance and always making the space um um very warm, and at the same time very understanding of everyone, and the thoughtful comments that she had always were very valuable, and she will be missed. So it was very hard hearing that she has passed. I always look forward to her um, uh, every time she raises her hand or if she says something. I look forward to like hearing what she was gonna say. And yeah, it's a big loss for all of us. And thank you for providing this space for us to share about her.
Candace?
I had a couple of other things I wanted to share. Oh, if Candace wanted to speak.
Candace?
Well, I don't have anything. I didn't really know her.
Okay, go ahead, Jenny.
One of the things that Marcia had told me is that she really considered Ruth McEwen a mentor to her, and she was hoping that she could do as good of a job as Ruth. And I would say that she did. She was very passionate in her advocacy, and I will very much miss that about her. The other thing I wanted to share was that I had the opportunity to go see her the Friday before she passed away. And I let her know that I thanked her for the work she did for people in Oregon and for her work on the commission, and that we loved her. And I was able to just spend a little bit of time with her. And I was very thankful for that time with her. And then I think we can put something on our website, but we can also use our Facebook to also honor Marcia.
Okay,
It's beautiful, Jenny. That's so wonderful that you made the time to make that connection. I just had to say that. That just makes me teary.
Thank you.
okay. Let's go into reflection time. What, and this is Commissioner Adams, I will go first. On reflection time, I want to say for the record that I know for it to be true that it's really wonderful to work with the commissioners on many, many things, including workforce and the opportunities that we are having to make this committee work as one unit, one team. I like that idea. And I'm very proud to know that we've come a long ways. And I know that we've got a lot more to do in the coming days, months, and years. So who would like to go next on reflection time? Mr. Mayor?
Well, I'm going to be very practical in this reflection. I think that we need to go back to our bylaws and see what we need to do about obtaining a new chair and vice chair. And so I just wanted to put that out there, not to be insensitive to the fact that our chair just passed, but we do have to, as you say, move along and hopefully get people in those positions that care as much as Marcia did about forwarding the goals and norms and priorities of this commission.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, so it's interesting what Jenny shared earlier, that Marcia was concerned that, that she would be forgotten or not remembered or something like that. Yeah, I certainly can understand that sentiment. And so, we talked maybe about, Jenny mentioned the Facebook page. That'd be wonderful as well. There might be just even, and Jenny, I don't know how this would be done or if it could be done, but I know that sometimes there's within APD at least kind of an announcement made to everyone in APD, or it's put in I'm not exactly sure what the format is, but in some type of it's not just there's some type of a tribute, if you will, given as well, so that people who would, in APD, for example, would would receive that information. So I don't know if that would be appropriate, but you know that how do how do you measure if somebody's is remembered or not, and the only thing I could think, with Marcia or Ruth or is that you measure it by the impact that they made in people's lives, individuals who Marcia's work and efforts and encouragement and support, individuals whose lives were touched by that and changed in good ways and given new opportunities that they didn't have before, or at least encouragement to persevere and to continue on in their situation. Now, those are the contributions maybe that can't always be measured. Maybe it's not like a diploma or something that you could put on the wall, but it's certainly a contribution. And quite frankly, I came to APD not knowing I would not, I didn't have in my employment trajectory to be in this position, but was able to graciously get it. I'm very thankful. And Jeannie remembers those days, I believe, as well. She was on my interview committee, I believe. But 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 in this position, I've really grown to appreciate, the contribution that people make and the impact that they make, especially for those who maybe don't have much of an advocate or facing such challenges that they really need someone to come alongside. And so I just, again, reflecting on Marcia, appreciate that, and everyone else, the rest of you on this commission. Some of you are consumers and you have needs, and others are like myself, possibly just representing the program and trying to do whatever we can to help. All of us make a difference. It's kind of like the members of the body. There's a hand, there's an eye, there's a mouth, there's a heart, whatever. So I don't know if this rambling is making any sense, but my reflection is it's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to be work with you folks and learn from you as well. And I just think that's the memory, that's the legacy, at least part that we could take away from Marcia's life as well.
Commissioner Butler?
Well, I think that in our last meeting, we talked about my appointment. So I guess my reflection, it's being postponed a little bit until June for the hearing. But that I'm just so impressed with this commission. I'm honored to have been nominated and be a part of it. Not only for the work and the advocacy, but just the heart that I can feel from each of the commissioners and the passion for this work. So yeah, just really honored to be here.
Commissioner McIntyre?
Yes, boy, I only had the opportunity to speak to Marcia once, but she made it very comfortable, and I could feel her passion and advocacy. And when I came to meetings, I always felt more comfortable because she was here. And excuse me. And I think that she would also want us to go ahead and as quickly as possible get a new chair in place so we could continue our advocacy work for clients and for the providers as well. So that's what I have to say. And also, I agree that we should put something up on the website if possible, acknowledging her contributions.
Yeah, Commissioner King?
I just want to thank everybody, the commissioners, the staff, and everything they do to help this commission. And yes, I would really like to put something up on the Facebook or website about Marcia.
Okay. We're gonna go down to the next thing on public testimony. Jenny?
Thank you. We do have public testimony. Now, let me bring it up real fast. Public testimony for March 2026 OHCC meeting. Full disclosure, I am an SCIU Local 503 Board Director, Home Care Council Director, and Home Care Bargaining Team member. I am not speaking for the union in any capacity. 1. Need a cancel/reset button on ORPTC app. Workers are frustrated when a mistake is made and they can't cancel and start over. In one case, a worker was told to commit a fraudulent act. Let the clock run until their time for the pay period was used up and then change.
Jenny, you froze.
Change the record as a workaround. Stores, a home care worker can drive on a shop at Winco, but Walmart is closer. If the consumer really was the employer, this would not be a problem. There was a case where a worker went to an unapproved store, got in an accident, and was denied workers' compensation because the store wasn't approved. 3. The state of Oregon pays millions of dollars into the Home Care Trust per the collective bargaining agreement. However, the workers who are supposed to benefit from this trust have no input, aren't allowed to attend the meetings, and aren't allowed to see the trust financials. There's a saying, nothing about us without us. It seems to have been forgotten. What can the OHCC do to make the trust transparent to members? In October, the trust changed the eligibility requirements, making it harder for workers to maintain their benefit status, and it is inherently unfair to workers. Please see my October 2025 testimony for more details. From my testimony, November 2025. The total hours worked for the pay period and year to date need to be printed on their remittance advice so the workers know how many hours have been logged into the system. The workers' benefits and compensation are based on these numbers. This would allow the worker to get errors corrected as soon as possible. The optimum would be a table showing how many hours worked per calendar month for the current year. This still has not been implemented. Every paycheck from other places I have worked has had current and year-to-date columns that included hours worked. An alternative would be the number of hours needed for the next step. Time is of the essence. Now that the OHCC and DHS have been made aware of their shortcomings and failures in a public meeting, they cannot take the position they did not know. Testimony respectfully submitted by Avery T. Horton Jr., home care worker, citizen, voter, taxpayer, state of Oregon, as always acting in individual capacity. End of testimony.
Jenny, could you please read from 1 to number 3? You were frozen and no one caught on what you were saying.
Yes, thank you. Let me find that information again. Sorry, I closed it and I have to look it up again. I'm sorry about my internet. Okay. Number 1, need a cancel/reset button on ORPTC app. Workers are frustrated when a mistake is made and they can't cancel and start over. In one case, a worker was told to commit a fraudulent act. Let the clock run until their time for the pay period was used up and then change the record as a workaround. 2. Stores a home care worker can drive to for their client is not specified in writing. There should be a list of stores where the worker is allowed to shop for their consumer. A consumer may want to shop at Winco, but Walmart is closer. If the consumer really was the employer, this would not be a problem. There was a case where a worker went to an unapproved store, got in an accident, and was denied workers' compensation because the store wasn't approved. 3, the state of Oregon pays millions of dollars into the home care trust per the collective bargaining agreement. However, the workers who are supposed to benefit from this trust have no input, aren't allowed to attend the meetings, and aren't allowed to see the trust financials. There's a saying, nothing about us without us. It seems to have been forgotten. What can the OHCC do to make the trust transparent to members? In October, the trust changed the eligibility requirements, making it harder for workers to maintain their benefit status, and it is inherently unfair to workers. Please see my October 2025 testimony for more details.
Okay, and what was the result of this?
So here are my responses. For number 1, for mistakes or errors on the provider time capture system, an individual can clock out when they notice a mistake and reject that entry. And then they can either do a historical time entry, or they can clock back in after that they reject that initial entry and do a historical time entry for the time they missed, that they weren't able to clock in for, but they worked. 2, individuals choose where they prefer to shop, and having a list of approved places kind of discounts an individual's preferences, and each individual is different. Historically, case managers would authorize a certain number of service miles, and use the guidelines of what was reasonable. Is there a way to combine trips, etc.? Case managers are being better trained now to address reasonable preferences based on where that individual wants to shop, not just what is closest. In terms of workers' compensation, they would not be denied for going to a unapproved store, because SAFE, which is the workers' compensation insurance company that we work with, they consider whether the provider was doing something within the scope and course of their duties. And providing transportation and helping somebody with shopping would definitely be within that course and scope of duties. So my thought is that there was something more to that case instead of just not going to an approved or unapproved store. In terms of the third question about the trust, at this point, I'm not sure what, as the commission, that we can do about the transparency of the trust, but I would encourage providers, and especially Mr. Horton, to reach out to the trust and ask what their process is to learn more about what the trust is doing and what the decision-making process is, and how to provide any kind of feedback about the decisions the trust is making. And then his final point about hours being shown, the remittance advice shows the number of hours that an individual works that counts towards their steps. It's correct that it does not have a running total on that number towards steps, but the remittance advice does show the number of hours an individual works. And then they can also look in their provider time capture system to see weekly how many hours they worked. So I know it's not ideal, but at this time, this would require significant system changes that we don't have the ability to do at this time. And that is my comment.
Is there any more public testimony from anybody?
No.
Okay. This is Commissioner Adams. I will say on record that I had talking to Lakeisha about the advocacy thing that's going on. From what I recall in the conversation, is that the committee is already put together. The form is already out to fill out for anybody to fill out that they feel that could be an advocate to be elected on the committee. The expired time to get the forms in is May. I believe I sent it to Jenny, Heidi, and I think I might have sent it to the commissioners. The form to be filled out, or for anybody to be filling them out. I do know that APD is not supposed to fill them out because it would be conflict of interest on ODDS and APD on that line. So the forms are out. It was given to me. I emailed as many people as I can with that form. And I think the deadline is in May for that. I also sent all the commissioners of the booklet that was sent to me by Washington, D.C., the home base services, the changes that will be taking place in 2028. I think I sent that to Jenny and Heidi, and I think I sent that to all the commissioners. So the commissioners could be updated as to what's coming in 2028 and home-based services. This is what the federal government has based their stuff on and what they voted on from the work group. So that will give you more information if you have any questions. It goes from a lot of, I think it's like, I'm trying to recall whether it's 125 pages or 200 pages, but I know it's pretty long in the PDF form. So that's what I have to say on the public testimony. As that being said, we now are going down to what they call Governor's Commission on Senior Services, GCSS. Does anybody have that?
Yes, that would be Commissioner Mayor.
Okay.
I attended the meeting of the Governor's Commission on Senior Services on February the 12th. They had three main things that they dealt with. First of all, we had a legislative update from Max Brown from the Aging and People with Disabilities. He went through all of the legislation that was of interest to APD and what to track and how to track it, and invited us to several opportunities to get updates. The second thing that was discussed was the Oregon Department of Human Services Customer Satisfaction Survey. Alexander Castle Clark from the Oregon Department of Human Services, and he is the Strategic Implementation Manager, talked about this satisfaction survey, and the goal is to send it out in June of 2026. So I'll have a little bit more information a bit later. And the third thing we discussed was continuation of the development of our strategic plan. We are trying to get another in-person meeting so that we can complete that strategic plan work. We're looking at May of 2026 and probably in Salem, but they haven't determined that yet. So those are the three main things that we discussed. I had to leave the meeting, unfortunately, a little early because of another conflict. But anyway, that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Who is on the ODC?
Who is what?
On the ODC, the Oregon Disabilities Commission?
That would be Commissioner King. And our next meeting is on the 12th of March. So right now I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner King. Who's on the 04AD?
That would be Randy and I. We did meet for our quarterly business meeting. We meet quarterly in Salem, all of the area agencies on aging. And in February's meeting, obviously some legislative ramp up, and it sounds like we're going to have legislative updates later in the meeting. We also looked at all of our funding contracts from the state that go out to the aging network. And made some modifications to those for the new upcoming contracts that are being amended. And then just a lot of focus on Oregon Project Independence Medicaid. I know we've talked about that in this commission meeting. Just the number of referrals that are going to this new expanded program that has more lenient resource and income limits for consumers that need in-home care to stay independent in their communities. We anticipated as a state that we would have around 3,000 consumers enrolled in this new pilot program within the first year and a half or so, and we've exceeded that already. There's about 3,500 consumers in Oregon enrolled in this Oregon Project Independence Medicaid pilot expansion. So we're working with the state to make sure that we're able to, have our staff keep up with the amount of work that's coming in because it is the aging network, the area agencies on aging that are doing the bulk of the work for this program. So I don't know if that would be a helpful topic maybe for a future agenda for the commission, but just to get an update and really deeper dive into Oregon Project Independence Medicaid. Yeah, I think that's it from our committees.
Okay. Who's on aging people with disabilities APD?
Yes, hello, Commissioner Johnson. Don't have anything specific to report that's different from last month. I did check with Matt Raposa, and usually I do before each meeting, and he said we don't have anything to report at this time. There is a lot going on. Just I'll mention this, not just for reference. There's quite a bit going on. There's with various things related to what CMS is requiring, some of the reporting. And so I know that there's much activity, but nothing kind of new breaking news, if you will, to report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. CAC and the CCOs. This is Commissioner Adams. There isn't very much going on as well, only that the CCOs are very worried on the HR1. Since it's going in sections of it, they are worried about the 2027 version. They also are worried about the 2028 version of the HR1 that's coming. The Oregon Health and Human Service is trying to do its part on the HR1. There is some, hopefully, it's one big job that's happening on this HR1 that was voted on that the CCOs are really, really concerned about. Some of them are worried about losing people. Some of them are wanting to keep people. It can be sometimes a mess when it comes to this. So with that being said, is there any questions, commissioners, that you would like to ask people on these subjects before we go on? Commissioner McIntyre, any question? Commissioner Mayor?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Butler?
No questions.
Commissioner King?
No, not for me.
Okay, so we're going to go on to the next topic on the agenda, and that would be the Carewell Karina. Okay, is Tom Brown, Grace, and Adam here? Melissa?
Melissa and Adam are here.
Oh,
Thank you. How are you doing?
good. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Great, thank you. Well, in light of time, I'll go quickly through the intro so we can get into the rest of the report. So, as you know, Carewell is a family of training and benefits for in-home care providers developed by 3 labor management trusts. Included in the intro are all of Carewell's offerings. And then you can learn more about the training and benefits offered by Carewell by going to carewellseiu503.org. As a reminder, RISE Partnership delivers the Carewell services. Rise Partnership is a nonprofit organization that partners with the state of Oregon, union, and responsible employers to build sustainable, equitable workforce solutions with a focus on education, career development, recruitment, benefit navigation. Rise helps workers develop fulfilling careers with opportunities for growth. So, in this report, today we'll do a look back at some highlights from 2025. Then we'll look ahead at some changes coming up for 2026, and then a tax reminder for HCA recipients. So I will have my colleague Adam read the next page, please.
Thank you. And Heidi, do you mind moving it back to page 2 if you're the one controlling the screen? Thank you.
I'm sorry. I
Oh,
went
no,
one
no.
page too many.
I appreciate you even sharing. I was all ready to do it and couldn't remember who did it. So, yes. So for our look back, we wanted to reiterate that Carewell is always working on systems and process improvements to try and make sure that care providers can access their training and benefits in the most streamlined, easy way possible. So we wanted to highlight some of those efforts, one of which we've talked about in this space before, which is that Carewell is one of the contractors for the Provider Navigator program. In 2025, we received just over 2,000 referrals for support through that program. And we always make at least 4 attempts to get in touch with someone that a referral has been made for, but we don't always get a hold of them. So out of those 2,000 referrals, we were able to help over 1,200 providers with their unique needs. A lot of that consists of assisting providers get through the application and enrollment process through their local office, specifically providers who English is not their first language. For example, if you're a home care worker and you want to go and apply online using DocuSign, that option is only available in English at this time. So our navigators, for instance, can make sure that they can get the paper application in their preferred language. Similarly, a lot of support we've provided is around getting folks through the background check process. Again, with a language barrier, providers receive an email to initiate the disclosure of their background check process in English, and there's an application number that they need to copy and paste into the Orchard system where they log in, and that system is also all in English. So a lot of our calls are spent with interpreters helping folks get through those steps. We've also supported another big important one is providers using the time capture systems. So claiming their time, doing historical entries, making sure they know where the resources and tutorial videos for those systems live and how to find the guides that have the instructions and step-by-step pictures in their language. And then making sure they know how to use Karina, set up their profile to find consumers, walking them through any kind of technology barriers, including how to check their email and do searches for keywords, and then just kind of helping with the communication and rapport with local offices. So that work has been very rewarding, and significant to point out is that in that work, we've been able to help folks in 20 different languages, and those are listed in that purple box there at the bottom of this page. And then we can go to the next page. Thanks, Heidi. Okay, and then some of the actual specific systems changes that we've made have to do with, for example, when a provider logs into their benefits portal, the My Carewell 503 portal, they made changes to some of the words and language that a provider would see so that when they're clicking on things, it's more clear to them what it is talking about. And they also have to occasionally upload forms like a signed W-9. So making sure that that upload process is really simple, really easy to follow, very streamlined. And then lastly, I think we spoke about this in a system, in a meeting before, which is when folks sign up for the new worker training and they log into their Carewell Learning Portal, they now see the entire new worker training series that they have to take. So it's visually cueing them that it doesn't end once they've finished orientation, that they still have to go do Core Part 1 and Core Part 2 later. And in tandem with that kind of visual change, we have automatic system reminder emails that go out to providers as they complete each step. So after they've registered, they get an email saying, thank you for registering. Here's the information about how to take your training. After they complete orientation, they get another system email saying, congratulations on completing your orientation. Be on the lookout for your provider number. Once you get your provider number, make sure you log back in and complete the next two parts within 120 days. So we're always trying to like prompt and make sure that there's somewhere for them to go to reference of what to do next. And that kind of ties in to the middle section of this page here, which is just being mindful of the communications we're sending out to providers. We're trying to make sure we don't overload them and that anything we're sending them is going to be key information that they need. So we've sent things like specific text messages, unique postcards in providers' preferred languages, and emails to try and keep them privy to any timelines or information about their training and benefits. And then these next three colorful boxes, a lot of them are benefit specific, so I won't go into them because I know you have a copy of this report and because Grace, who is our benefits partnership coordinator, isn't with us today, and she would be the best person to answer any questions related to those, so I can make sure I put her email in the chat. But a few things that I wanted to just point out for, some positive news is that we were able to issue over 7,000 stipends for providers taking our training, which means that over $2,800,000 went into the pockets of providers just for completing their training. And over 7,000 workers were also able to get a free pair of slip-resistant shoes through the Carewell Kicks program, which seems to be working as a great incentive to get providers to take their training and then to stay active providers because that benefit continues on an annual basis. And then Heidi, thank you so much. I'll send it back to Melissa for a bit more about Karina.
Thank you, Adam. So in 2025, Karina helped create 1,507 job matches. This is up 28% from last year. Also, in collaboration with Carewell and OHCC, Karina launched an improved consumer verification process and also added 10 languages to its platform. So, in addition to English, Russian, and Spanish, Karina is now available in the following languages. It's Amharic, Arabic, Farsi, Khmer, Korean, Punjabi, Simplified Chinese, Somali, Ukrainian, and Vietnamese. So both care seekers and care providers can access Karina in their preferred language. So what is ahead for 2026? For the benefit enhancements, we'll continue to build on our work to expand benefits and improve the care provider experience, excuse me. We're updating the healthcare cost assistance benefit eligibility rules to care providers receiving VA health insurance, offering assistance paying for out-of-pocket medical expenses up to $8,000 in 2026. We are also in the My Carewell 503 portal, that is being localized, so workers whose preferred language isn't English can access this tool and navigate through it. And the languages that it will be available in are Arabic, Khmer, Korean, Punjabi, Russian, Simplified Chinese, Somali, Spanish, Ukrainian, and Vietnamese. And I will send this back to Adam to finish.
Yeah, so just one last training update, which I know we've also talked about before, is just that the continuing education training requirement goes into effect at the end of this month. And we, from running the numbers, estimate that there's about 374 providers who need to do their continuing education by the end of this month. We've already done multiple forms of outreach to them to let them know about this. So far we've seen that 67 have finished and 74 are in progress. Some of our outreach includes postcards in their specific language with a QR code that just takes them directly to the login page for their portal so that it's very clear exactly how to complete the training. And we will continue to send out these kinds of communications for providers throughout the year because we know providers are coming due at different times. And then lastly is just the tax reminder for healthcare cost assistance recipients, just letting you all know that we are providing those providers with the necessary tax forms they need in time to complete their taxes. And that'll do it for our update. And I will put Grace's email in the chat in case anyone has any kind of benefits specific questions for follow-up. I know she'd be more than happy to answer them. Does anyone have any questions for Melissa and I about the other training and Karina content?
Well,
Yes,
I'm sorry, George, this is Commissioner Mayer. I'd like to ask a question.
go ahead.
Adam, I see here that the training is in various languages. Has there been any effort on behalf of Carewell to provide English classes for people maybe that aren't as familiar with English?
That's a good question. I have not heard anything about that. As far as I would know, we could potentially help refer folks to resources that do provide those services, but I will take that question back and just inquire about it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Adam, this is Commissioner Adams. As a commissioner, I went into Korean and stuff, and it seems to be a little helpful for me. What I did was curious about was I went into Carewell, and I went into where it read classes. And it looked like that there was nothing on your guys' website where people could get into to be taking classes, I've noticed. And I was just a curious commissioner as to how your guys' website was set up, just out of curiosity. I don't know why there wasn't nothing listed for classes. But I just wanted to let you guys know that there's nothing in your website that providers can take classes from or how they can get into them. There was a number of state providers that did say, or I brought it to my attention, that they're looking for advanced classes for a higher wage and they still can't get on the website of Carewell to be taking these classes because there's nothing there for them to do it with.
This is a good question, and we actually just did a joint power hour with the OHCC to try and help clarify the difference in training that's provided from Carewell versus the OHCC. So I think what I hear is two different things. One, the trainings that are going to give providers a higher wage differential, those are going to be through the OHCC. So we wouldn't have information about those on our website. We just have information in the FAQs directing folks to the OHCC website so they can learn more. And then, but for the regular required Carewell training, our website indicates the length, the topics, and then it shows you how to register depending on what language you would like. And then if you need assistance to register, you can call the Member Assistance Center. So I just want to make sure that, I'm happy to email you links to the website so I can make sure we're looking at the same thing because we definitely have directions on our website letting folks know what the training consists of and how to take it.
Well, I'm kind of wondering, would it have anything to do with people having cookies and cookies that they need to delete off in order to get to those classes on your website that may be encountering the problem?
That's a good point. It's always a good idea, especially when you're doing any kind of online portal for the provider to refresh their computer if they're going to re-log in or visit a website. It's definitely a good troubleshooting idea.
Okay. Well, like I said, I did go on to Carol Karina and I didn't see any where it went to the tab or reads classes for providers, and I didn't see any list of classes for them to take, and
Sure.
I kind of thought maybe it might be the cookies or something.
Commissioner Adams, I just want to point out that there are two separate websites. Karina is different than the information for training that's on Carewall's site. So you're going to go to two different places for the information. Karina has its own site, and that's where you go to find a match, to find an employee to work with you. And then the Carewell site has the information about trainings.
I understand that, but when I was done with Karina, I was curious on going on to Carewell after that, and that's what I found after I was done with Karina.
Are you saying that you, like from the Karina website, it would be helpful to have a link to the Carewell website that says something like to learn more about training, click here to get them to the Carewell website?
It would, yeah, but what I did was I went into Karina and did my thing, and then I was curious to see what Carewell had, so that I went into the Carewell website, and that's what I saw was no classes listed.
Also, the interesting thing I'm thinking about too is that in order, and Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to eat up more time, but in order to create an account with through Karina, you have to have a provider number, which means that you would have already gone through Carewell's training.
As a care provider, yes, you have the original or the initial orientation that you would need to take to get your provider number to then sign up for Karina. You can view the website regardless. Anybody can go to the Karina website and see, their forward-facing information, FAQs. But to actually use the website to match, you would need that active provider number.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
it's possible, maybe that's part of the issue as well. Commissioner Adams says that, maybe that was in play as well. And just to kind of go back, I'll bring the feedback to Karina about cross-referencing to link to the Carewell training information. That way, when care providers are on Karina and they're finished and they have questions about training, they can get back to the Carewell website easier.
I think that would be a breeze if that was being done. That way it might be a faster joining, faster, than them having to, So any commissioners would like to ask questions? Commissioner King? Commissioner Mayor, Commissioner Johnson,
I
Nope.
don't have questions.
No additional questions.
Commissioner McIntyre? Commissioner Jeannie?
No questions from me, thanks.
Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. I guess we're all done.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, now we're going down the agenda of the OHCC workers' compensation reports.
Kelly Rosenau is not able to join us today, but I believe you have her report. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me and I'll make sure she's able to answer those for you. So I would be happy to fill that time with my executive director's report if you would like to do that.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll have Heidi bring that up for me. Okay, this last quarter has been incredibly busy in terms of collaboration and community outreach. So as usual, I always attend the APD Area Agency on Aging Program Manager / District Manager meetings. And David always accompanies me to that, and that's where we provide updates about what OHCC is doing. We're also participating in the Direct Care Workforce Peer Learning Collaborative, and I will give an update about that later down in my report. We've also been attending the Senate Bill 1556 Community Partner Meeting, and that's about the public-facing registry that will list employees that they've completed training requirements and that they have an approved background check. And what I'm really excited about is that we are having discussions with other states now about the work of the commission. So we met with Minnesota to talk about the home care worker program. We were guest speakers at two different cohorts for the Direct Care Worker Strategy Center peer learning collaboratives, one on well-being at work and the other on workforce peer learning. I mean, joining the workforce. And so we were able to, David helped me with that. So we were able to talk about Oregon, the commission, and the work we did during the first cohort. We met with Vermont to discuss non-wage benefits for the home care workforce. So that was one of our focuses from the last time we had a project with the Direct Care Workforce Strategy Center. And then I recently met with two of an area agency on aging and a APD office to talk about the commission and also ways to prevent late payments for providers. So it's been pretty busy. Today, I will be meeting with Kenta Katsumata, who is an assistant professor of social welfare studies at Hokusei Gakuen University in Japan. So I'll be able to tell you next month how that discussion went. He wants to talk about the personal support worker program and individuals who receive services from from personal support workers, and I'll be joined by a policy analyst through the Office of Developmental Disability Services. All right. So I wanted to give an update about projects. A huge shout out to Masara for her work on this program. So just in 2025, we had 2,369 referrals for this program, and each one of those individuals were contacted by a provider navigator. And I like to share some success stories with you. I think it's always good to hear about the impact that the programs are having. So we received these from the provider navigators themselves. One provider has graduated from PNP services and has been successfully searching for their next consumer and already had interviews lined up. Since those interviews, she has found additional hours that better fit her schedule. She has not had the need to visit the hours as she is navigating the ins and outs of PTC from her home/personal phone. The applicant, provider, and navigator met for the first meeting. After reviewing the PNP program and the personal care attendant application and training process, the applicant felt confident she could complete all steps. She expressed excitement about supporting the disability community and finding fulfillment in the role. The navigator outlined the steps to become fully certified, and by the end of the call, the applicant said she was grateful to have a buddy in the process. Supported a provider who was trying to navigate their second time through the application process. They shared the first time feeling so overwhelmed they were unable to follow through. This provider shared at length about his appreciation for my involvement as a provider navigator and voiced feeling more secure and confident in pursuing this work to help his father. The provider reached out to the navigator with questions about safe and harassment-free work environments. The navigator shared that consumers should not be asking for things that are not authorized tasks. The provider and navigator did some role play and problem solving for what to do when a consumer is asking for things the provider is not authorized to do. The provider left the call feeling more empowered to hold boundaries and reach out to CMEs if there is no change in this behavior. Heidi, will you scroll down, please? Thank you. And reach out to CMEs if there is no change in this behavior. So we've heard a number of success stories since the beginning of the program. Very excited about that. I wanted to provide an update under workforce development. The Direct Care Workforce State Advancement Lab we are participating in is called the Career Progression Track. And we are in a cohort with Iowa, Maine, Massachusetts, North Carolina, and Washington. And PHI, who's a leading expert in direct care worker issues, is our mentor, and they're providing technical assistance to us. So we work very closely with them. Our goals are to, one, develop a provider advisory committee, and two, create a strategic plan on implementing training portability across service settings, CNA training requirements, and educational settings. So our goal is to create this plan with the hope of actually having training portability. David Vining is the Oregon lead on this project, and he represents Oregon incredibly well during these meetings and the work on this project. I'm very thankful for his leadership in this project. We work towards a creation of a provider advisory committee. So our mentor with PHI will help us develop our charter, application, and training for members. And he has also shared information from other states also work on developing an advisory committee. And I wanted to let you know the reason we're looking at a provider advisory committee is so that there's another space for providers to share their lived experience, how policies and procedures might impact the work that they do. You know, just having a voice in that space and having input to policies and procedures and rules and things that impact the work that they do. So providers are represented by SEIU, but individuals can choose not to participate in the union. And we wanted to make sure there was a space for everybody, whether they participated in union membership or not, to be able to have input to things that impact their work. So our work towards training portability, we're compiling and analyzing the training curriculum crosswalk to find commonalities and gaps. And David Vining and Masara Iwas Ransom are leading the work on that. The curriculum team with PHI will provide insight and assistance with this task because it's pretty enormous. So I want to thank David and Masara for their work on that. And based on our successful projects during our participation in the first Learning Collaborative, we've been invited as guest speakers for other peer learning collaborative cohorts, and we've had follow-up meetings with other states to discuss our work. So I think that is a wonderful way to meet our strategic plan that I think we're having more visibility than I thought we would ever have when we talked about our strategic plan. So this is pretty exciting. Continuing education, Adam with Carewell mentioned this, that providers are required to complete 12 hours of continuing education through Carewell at SEIU 503 every 2 years when they renew their background check. The first 4 hours are required topics, so cultural competency and Medicaid fraud prevention, and then the remaining 8 hours are electives. Carewell has quite a catalog of continuing education courses. The first group of providers who are due are those whose credentials must be renewed by the end of March. And like Adam mentioned, Carewell's been providing focused outreach to providers who are due to complete continuing education requirements. If a provider has an OHCC certification, they're not required to complete continuing education through Carewell. Carewell continuing education courses can count towards the 10 hours of elective courses to earn their professional development certification. So that's good news. That provides more flexibility to earn that certification, which leads to higher wages for providers. I wanted to do some staff shout outs. David Vining for leading our efforts with the Direct Care Workforce Strategy Center and presenting as a guest speaker, serving as the contract administrator for the media campaign, and representing the OHCC during workforce recruitment events. Thank you, David. I want to shout out to Masara Iwas Ransom for going above and beyond by providing provider navigator services for home care worker applicants and providers in an area without a navigator. She met with individuals in person and provided that individual support, and that made a true difference for people who need our help. Heidi, could you please scroll down? I'd like to thank the training unit for holding another successful professional development certification conference in Salem. Attendees told me how much they learned and look forward to the conferences. So since it was in Salem, I had the opportunity to go visit people at the conference, and it was so great to see how many people love learning and are committed to taking our trainings. I would like to thank Miguel Cordova for coordinating efforts across programs and agencies to ensure the collective bargaining agreement is implemented successfully. He's been doing a great job. This is a hard job. If you've ever tried to coordinate any meetings across multiple programs and agencies, it's quite the feat, and he's doing it so wonderfully. So thank you, Miguel. And then I want to give a shout out to Heidi Alacio and Tricia Wright Coleman for filling 7,717 personal protective equipment orders for the home care workforce in 2025. And that's an amazing amount of work. So thank you, Heidi and Tricia, for that. And that is my report. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments.
Jenny, this is Commissioner Adams. I want to tell you that with this report, I'm very proud of you for the work that you and David is doing and how far out that you are guys reaching to other states to let us be known here in Oregon and what we're doing.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Adams.
Something else I was going to say too. It'll come to me. Is there any commissioners want to ask Jenny any questions? Commissioner Butler?
Nothing for me.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could clone Ginny, maybe at least twice, and so she could get a little bit more done.
That would be great. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
I just want to shout out to Jenny and to all the rest of the members of the team for all the work that they're doing on our behalf and on behalf of those with disabilities. Jenny, David, Masara, training unit, Michael, Heidi, Tricia. It's just amazing. And yeah, I think Paul's right. If we could just clone all of you, that would be great. We could reach out even further. So kudos to all of you.
Thank
And a
you,
big-
Commissioner Mayer.
Commissioner McIntyre?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner King?
Nothing for me, thank you.
This is Commissioner Adams again. Oh, I know what I want to say. Jenny, I did find out. And David, you may be getting a lot of people with this. There is people that I'm learning that is coming from other jobs like CNAs, X-ray techs, ultrasound techs, people from other hospitals that are now wanting to be Oregon State providers. That I'm finding out. So we are getting a lot from other careers that are not wanting those careers, now wanting to become providers. And that's what I'm finding out. So if there are no questions for Jenny, let's go down to the ODDS report.
Commissioner Adams, I would like to introduce everybody to the new Director of the Office of Developmental Disability Services, Acacia McGuire Anderson. So this is her first meeting with us. So I'm going to turn it over to Acacia.
Yeah, good morning, almost afternoon. Grateful to be here and really appreciate the invite. As Jenny just shared, my name is Acacia McGuire Anderson, and I did start as the director of the Office of Developmental Disability Services on February 18th. So it's been just a couple of weeks, though my background is in disability services. I've worked as a direct support professional. I've worked as a services coordinator. Actually was a personal support worker for a very brief moment in time, and then spent most of my career with the Office of Developmental Disability Services, primarily in employment. And moved over to Clackamas County. It's good to see Jeannie here for a little bit doing health and housing integration, and then recently returned. So it's nice. It feels a little bit like coming home, and it's really great to be able to meet with the Home Care Commission and you all, and kind of hear how things are going. Because I'm so new, I don't have a ton of updates that are planned in terms of um, things that I think would be particularly relevant, though I do imagine you all have been tracking short session, and there were quite a few bills that were related to the Office of Developmental Disability Services. A couple that we've been really tracking are Senate Bill 1532, which is a reflection of how we pay people who reside with a person that they're supporting, though that's primarily on the agency side. And then 4040, I think is the number, if I can keep it straight, looks at allowing parents of minors to support them as a personal support worker. So that is something that I do think is relevant here and is moving. We expect to, maybe it's today on the floor, but just wanted to kind of flag those things as something that we're closely monitoring and paying attention to. So I don't know if there's questions I can answer, but really my goal today was just to introduce myself and hear from you all. And if there are questions you have that I can't answer, I will get more information and come back.
This is Commissioner Adams. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Mayor, any questions?
Yeah, I just had, I know that you haven't been in the job that long, but can you tell us something about your priorities as you look forward to a strategic plan or whatever, but your priorities?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, right now, what I'm doing my best to do is hear from people. I kind of want to hear how things are going. There have been a lot of interim directors within ODDS the last few years. And so it's I think a lot of things are just we got to keep every ball in the air, right? We got to keep everything afloat. And to your point, I really think it's important for us to have priorities, because if everything is on fire, nothing is on fire. And that's a little bit of the situation we're in. So I'm spending these first couple of months just really wanting to hear from people about their priorities, starting, with leadership within ODDS and of the teams, also talking right to different coalitions, spending time with our partners, with SEIU, with different counties, brokerages, providers, and really also wanting to center on the individuals we serve. And so one of the things that is at the very top of my list is in late spring, I want to get out in person and talk to self-advocates and their families and hear how things are going and what their priorities are, so that we can do exactly what you're saying, which is basically create a work plan that would really emphasize some of the work we have to do. I think you all are also very aware that we're coming into pretty uncertain budget times that are going to require very difficult decisions that impact our systems, right? And so I'm also really wanting to hear feedback from people on, again, what is very important, what is working really well, and then things that maybe aren't working so well that we could do better or we could have some efficiencies with. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just really trying to listen and learn and reorient. And the goal is to create a public facing plan that says, these are the things that we're really going to be focusing on in the next couple of years.
Thank you and welcome aboard.
Mr. Johnson?
Yeah. Hi, Keisha. I'm Paul Johnson, and I'm a commissioner, but I also work within APD and the Medicaid Services and Supports Unit as an in-home policy analyst. And I'm just excited for your new role. And I've felt for a long time we needed a stronger voice from ODDS, and so I'm excited you're able to provide leadership to that agency, but also can help us because I know that this commission really wants to hear and understand and then do all we can to support and respond to the needs of consumers within your program. And so I trust that moving forward, we can really begin to maybe dig a little deeper even and provide the support that's needed for those consumers. So again, welcome, and I'm excited for you, and thank you for being here today to represent yourself and describe your new role. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for that insight. I agree. There's definitely a lot of things that we can do to best support, the people with IDD. And that's part of why it's so important to me to hear, directly from people and what we could do. But also as we go forward, would love to hear kind of where we can better support the commission and be more engaged and involved. So definitely something that's important to me.
Yeah, this is just real quick, sorry to interrupt it. This is just, we're an active commission, I would say. We have a strategic plan. We're trying to review it relatively regularly. I know Jenny's leadership is really focused on that as well, and others with her staff. So if you have questions or ideas or need clarification, or just want to dialogue about something, please engage us. Feel free. I know that we'll do the same with you or with your staff. But I don't know how other commissions and things always operate. Sometimes I think some things kind of are status quo a little bit, but we really want to continue to improve and address issues as we find them. So that's, if I could speak for the commission, Jenny, feel free to veto me. But I think, we just want to have that active partnership with you and your agency as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner McIntyre?
Yes, I just wanted to say, first of all, welcome. And we're really grateful you're here because now I found in my community down here in Ashland that there's a lot of overlap between people with physical disabilities and IDD. And I really am interested to see how we can best serve all the populations. And I was also hoping that you would drop your contact information in the chat so that if we have questions later, because a lot of us need time to process, but if we can contact you later, it'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank
And
you. And thank you for putting that in the chat.
Yep, happy to, and happy to answer questions later. Like I said, I definitely want to engage and continue dialogue, so don't hesitate to reach out. And I do agree. There is a lot of overlap, right, between people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and physical disabilities and behavioral health and all the things, right? People don't fit neatly in boxes, even though systems want them to. And so I think it's important for us to figure out how we serve people, not how we serve systems.
Commissioner King?
I just want to say welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Butler?
No real comments, just I've worked with Acacia. She came from Clackamas County. We had some pilot projects that we worked on together, and our loss is ODDS's gain. But I'm excited that at least I'll still get to see your face and work with you. So it's
Great to
exciting.
see you.
Jenny, will Annika, that is your name, right, Annika?
Acacia.
Acacia, okay. Will she be working in the committee underneath of us for the the other disability people, any other committee underneath us?
Are you talking about the DD Mental Health Committee?
Yeah,
She won't, but she has staff that will.
okay, that's good. If there's any more questions for her, or we're waiting for Nikisha, has she come yet? Come yet?
I will be speaking in place of Nikisha today.
Oh, okay. So you can stay and listen for the rest of the meeting if you choose to.
I would love to. Unfortunately, I have to go to another meeting, but I appreciate the invite and please don't hesitate to reach out. It was nice to meet you all and see some familiar faces.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, Jenny, you're up for Nikisha.
Thank you. So there is a presentation today. We're going to lead you through an exercise about the agency request budget development. And Heidi is going to go through the screens for me while I do the talking points. So thank you for participating in this. There's going to be a series of questions we want you to think about and answer. So I'm not sure if you know or if you were able to participate in a series of meetings called Together We Plan sessions. And I think Cheryl Miller was really involved in that. So I'm not sure if you were able to participate or not. But the conversations were very thoughtful, candid, and deeply important. And they clearly heard that how budget decisions really affect real people, real families, real communities, and that transparency and follow through matter. And the conversations build on the Together We Plan sessions that were held in January. And those who participated, we were very grateful for their time, honesty, and lived experience that they shared with us. If you missed the Together We Plan events, you can find a recording of the virtual sessions online, and we'll let you know. We'll drop that link in the chat. On the page, there's also a high-level summary of what they heard, what the state heard during those 3 events. And one big takeaway was that engagement must be ongoing and not just a one-time event. And that's part of the continued commitment. And as we move further into the budget development process, we want to stay in conversation with you to share where things stand, explain the environment we're navigating, and invite your insight and priorities. So the purpose for today is to share where we are at in the budget process, explain the fiscal environment we're navigating, consider the major structural costs ODHS must fund, discuss how aging and people with disabilities priorities might be shaped within limited resources, and then invite focused input to inform both the aging and people with disabilities budget and an agency level decision. So we're now in the point in the budget process where the fiscal environment is more clear. We're operating within limited resources, and there is no expectation of new general funding for expansion. But together, we'll explore the budget constraints we know are coming and the major structural costs that ODHS has to fund. We're not asking you to choose between programs. We're asking for insight that helps shape priorities responsibly before decisions are moved forward. And our goal is clarity, partnership, and gathering meaningful input. So a few words about our fiscal realities. As we move further into the budget process, the fiscal environment becomes more clear. State revenue growth for this biennium is limited, and we're not anticipating significant new general funds for program expansion. And at the same time, we need to maintain current services, and we know that that's becoming more expensive. So costs continue to rise due to caseload pressures, workforce, and provider rates, and that we need to also inflation and other day-to-day realities of service delivery. We also have obligations that must be met, including state and federal requirements, compliance standards, and investments in technology and systems that allow services to function. And some of the costs can't be postponed without creating risk or instability. So demand for core services remains high across many parts of the state. When you put those pieces together, limited funding growth, rising baseline costs, and ongoing obligations, we must be deliberate about how priorities are shaped within our resources available. So this is the environment we are navigating together. Okay, so a little information about the development of budgets and how they're developed in 3 phases. Where we are right now is with the agency request budget. You'll hear that referred to as ARB, and this is due in September of this year. And the process is that ODHS solicits input from the community, partners, and tribes. And then we have ongoing policy and work group products that are often included in the ODHS agency request budget. So with the agency request budget, this is when ODHS gathers input from advisory councils, community members, service recipients, partners, and tribes about what people need and what's happening on the ground. And this is why we want to hear from you today. In short, ODHS makes a request. The governor decides on the proposed budget across all state agencies, and the legislature makes the final decision on all policy and budget issues. So we're at the ARB right now. The next is the governor's recommended budget. You may hear that referred to as GRB, and that happens in December 2026 or February 2027. And the governor's budget priorities are reflected, and this includes program and policy work and ODHS input provided through the governor's policy advisors. And then from there, it goes into the legislatively adopted budget. You'll hear that referred to as LAB, and that happens at the end of June 2027. So the legislature holds public hearings on ODHS bills and the budget. Testimony can be provided in person, online, or in writing for legislative consideration. And then individuals and groups can meet with legislators. This is a time to educate legislators about the work that we do. Okay, next slide. So the budget development process, the proposals must align with the governor's strategic priorities, the agency's mission and vision, and leadership's guiding principles. So we start with a base budget, what it costs today. From there, we calculate what's called the current service level, often called CSL. And CSL is basically what will it cost us to do what we're doing today during the next biennium. So increases include caseload growth, inflation, and cost per case, and staff earned through the workload model. From there, policy option packages are created, which include both requests for new or changes to programs and services. And then let's talk a little bit about the 10% reduction list. Oregon law requires all state agencies to submit a 10% reduction list that are realistic and achievable, include a reasonable implementation timeline, are supported by documented assumption and clearly outline staffing and service implications. This gives the governor and the legislature flexibility in determining where funds are allocated, and agencies are often required to provide more than 10% options. Okay, Heidi. So these are the governor's priorities for 2027 to 2029. So Governor Kotek has directed state agencies to build their budget around her 5 priorities for 2027-2029. And this includes economic development, funding of executive order, affordability of living in Oregon, consumer services and efficiency, and protecting Oregon's values. And the agency request budget must fit within these categories. In addition to the governor's priorities, ODHS has prioritized safety for all Oregonians. That means our regulatory oversight, adult protective services, and the Medicaid funded long term services and support system are vital components of the APD program budget. So, looking at the governor's priorities under economic development, that includes job creation, business growth, and expanding the state's revenue base. Looking at executive orders, those are things like clean energy and carbon reduction, responding to aggressive immigration enforcement, housing, behavioral health, and earthquake preparedness. The priority of affordability, that's to reduce the cost of housing, healthcare, childcare, food, transportation, and utilities. Looking at customer service and efficiency as a priority, that means modernizing service delivery, streamlining processes, eliminating duplicative or low value activities, and then protecting Oregon values. That's civil rights protections, access to essential services, and preserving state authority. Okay, Heidi. So, based on everything you've just heard, as well as what you know about our system and your experience, we want to know your thoughts on our agency request budget. So, to get us started, we have a few questions to help us think through the budget making process. And I'm going to read them, but your feedback does not need to follow each of the questions in order. But this is what we need your input on, what your ideas are. So, since resources will be limited, what principles or values should guide difficult choices? What must be protected? Are there efficiencies that could help? Where would shifts create the greatest impact? And what ripple effects should APD understand? So I'll go back up to the beginning and read the first question again, and I'd like to open it to the Florida commissioners to provide their input and ideas and thoughts. So what principles or values should guide difficult choices? Does anybody have any thoughts about that? I know it's a lot to think about. Principles and values should guide difficult choices. So knowing that our resources are limited, when we're making these types of decisions, what type of things do we really need to consider when making difficult choices?
Well, Jenny, this is Commissioner Mayer. I think the overarching principle should be person-centered care. There could be other values, but I think we have to keep that as a priority and a value, no matter what choices we make. To keep the person at the and not to, what's the word? That the person is valued and not just considered another statistic, I guess is what I would like to say. That's all I have to say.
That's excellent feedback. Thank you, Commissioner Mayer. Any other principles or values that should guide our difficult choices?
I would like to see civil liberties be a priority since that affects nutrition, housing, person-centered care, provider care. I just think it's a great all-encompassing kind of thing to for lots of organizations, including this one. But again, just my thought.
Well, it's an excellent thought. Thank you so much for sharing it. So while you're continuing to think about that, I'll pose the second question, and I think it relates to the first one. What must be protected?
So Jenny, this is Commissioner Johnson, and I was thinking about the first one and maybe the second as well. What principles or values should guide difficult choices? I think the key for me is difficult choices. And so I would kind of just, my response would be that we would want to serve the most needy, those who are most isolated, those who are most needy, uh, with the services we're able to provide. If we have to make choices, then my thinking is that the choices would focus on the level of need and assistance and support needed, and then those with a lesser need would not be as highly ranked for receiving services as those with those more significant functional needs. What must be protected? Well, that's a big question as well. I think what needs to be protected is the essential services. There might be some other service options or things that are important or that do provide support in service, but maybe they're not the core essential services that a person needs for their health and safety. And so I would say that what needs to be protected are those essential services that are provided through APD or through other Medicaid agencies, and others that are great, but maybe not the core of what our services are focused on. Those would not maybe need to be protected if we had to make that difficult decision in the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. And Jenny Butler put in the chat, protecting services and service levels for our most vulnerable populations, older adults and people living with disabilities.
And I just was going to add to that,
Yeah.
so I've been around long enough to remember, gosh, was it 2003? We had significant service level cuts, and that was the conversation. We were serving in the Medicaid programs, service level priority 1 to 18, 18 kind of just needing some structured living, 1 potentially ventilator, significant, just totally dependent on care. And those service levels were cut down to 13. So they did away with those other service levels with the mindset that those people didn't need services. And they're still, if you look at our general population, they are still the most vulnerable and most needy in Oregon. So preserving those service levels is vital. People who are able-bodied and able to work and whatnot, like let's look at services to people that might be able to find other resources, but just really protecting services and service levels for our most vulnerable. It's very important.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, George, go ahead.
This is Commissioner Adams on the values and principles. I'm noticing, and I'm not quite sure if everybody else has been noticing, but with what's been going on with the cuts and everything, I'm seeing that some stuff has been moved out of the disability community that the state and the department should be diving into and not out of the disability community as to what their needs really is the meaning in order to achieve the North Star that the Oregon Health and Human Services is trying to create. In order for that to happen, I think the department should check into more of the nursing homes, foster homes, home-based services, and really try to get a grasp and dive in as to what the disability community is all about. I think it's kind of it's like trying to put something out there but not knowing which direction to go into. It's like it's like no one wants to dive in to see what our community is really like, what's really, really involved. a, uh, when it's added on to seniors, we also have needs that need to be met and that aren't being met. The understanding of about the vocabulary that we are having and no one understanding what our vocabulary is and the value in order for the North Star to shine in the Oregon Health and Human Service Department. So it's kind of shying away instead of diving in to see the important stuff in our community. For the principals, I would have to say, look at the important principles and determine what monies are being wasted. I can see Commissioner Butler's view, and I think that also needs to be concentrated on too as well, about the age range from 1 to 18 or 1 to 65. I think that that's important. Now, as far as being protected, I think that the air environment should be protected. I think the people with seniors and disabilities should be protected in every way possible. I think that the way money is being spent, sometimes there's places that money should not be spent in, and there's places that money is really in need of to protect things that we really need in the state. And housing is another one. I don't see a law that is out there to help people that when the rents go up, there's no protecting out there for renters. They're having to struggle, like our care providers. They're having to struggle, paying $2,000, $2,400 in rent, when there should be a cap on landlords and cap on owners as to how much they can really are supposed to be charging. Like if they only charge only $1,000 for rent, they shouldn't be able to go any further than $1,000 to be charging renters that can't even afford it. That's why there's a lot of homeless in our state that really also will need our assistance, and state providers and state assistance.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. So let's go to the next question. Are there efficiencies that could help?
Jenny, you forgot Commissioner McIntyre. She was going to say something.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem. I just wanted to reiterate how important it is for those of us down in Southern Oregon that they don't forget about the rural counties and just the smaller counties in general. We in Southern Oregon tend to get forgotten in a lot of stuff because, people are focused on the bigger cities and stuff north of Eugene, and we get left out of a lot of stuff. And the thing to Commissioner Adams, in the legislature right now, and this is the last week of the legislature for the year. And so I don't know if it's been passed or if it's coming up for a vote, but there is a bill on the way through on accessible housing to increase the number of accessible housing So I just wanted to let him know that rent is not being addressed, but accessibility is.
Thank you so much, Commissioner McIntyre. Okay, are there any efficiencies that could help?
I think that and this is not my wheelhouse at all, but I think that some efficiencies with some IT systems, yeah, could could provide some more efficient mechanisms for the work we do and provide better services to individuals. So I think that maybe it could be explored how IT systems in general and specifically the ones that are used for directly with planning services for consumers, et cetera, can be looked at. Again, I don't know enough to give specifics there. Um, um, then there's an efficiency, and again, I'm speaking a little bit outside my area here, but just with the caseload question that case managers have, and related to that the process that they go through in determining a person is eligible, the eligibility unit, and then for ongoing case managers, it seems like the amount of work involved in that process, which is very important, could be looked at. I know it is being looked at actually in APD to see if it could be streamlined, if it could be looked at in more reasonable in certain ways, so that the amount of time needed to determine eligibility and service planning is reduced, but still addressing the needs of the individual. So again, that relates a little bit to IT related um, issues as well. But that's what comes to mind when I think about efficiencies.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Anything else before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Adams. As far as efficiencies, I see that it should be better customer service. For one, that it can adapt to state providers and consumers. Better well-trained case managers. The I agree with Commissioner Johnson on the computer work, on getting checks out on time for state providers, quicker than what they could be. And that's all that I can think of.
Commissioner Adams, when you say well-trained case managers, is there anything specifically that you're thinking of there?
Yes. When a consumer needs a case manager, they shouldn't have to wait 48 hours. They should get an answer within one day, if not less than 5 hours, if they can. Have another case manager around if the case manager is not able to be contacted. There should be another case manager that should be contacted to take he or she's place that already knows the answers to questions that they're used to, especially when they go out into the field.
Okay, thank you. Where do you think shifts could create the greatest impact? Where would shifts create the greatest impact?
This is Commissioner Adams. One of the things that I can think of in the state of Oregon is the amount of readiness for the big, huge disaster earthquakes, so on and so forth. To know actually where to put people in place already ready to go when and if there is a disaster. Where they can be placed. How many rooms we can put them in. What is a safe place? The constant, if one employee of the APD and ODS is putting in retirement or so on and so forth, there should be another one created as soon as possible, so then there's no confusion on the consumer trying to figure out who they're supposed to go to.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson, where would shifts, I think I'd like to rewrite the sentence a little bit. Where would shifts in resources create the greatest impact? For me, the more that we could assist the local office case managers and local office staff with their work, that would be the focus I would have, or I would emphasize just those folks that are doing the assessments and in direct contacts that are doing other work. We want to, if we have to shift resources or prioritize resources, I would focus it on the work of the local office staff.
Thank you. Any other ideas on where shifts could create the greatest impact?
Commissioner King, do you have any idea?
No, I don't.
Okay. What ripple effects should APD understand? So if a decision is made, what would that impact down the road? Like making one change, how does that affect other things? What does APD need to understand with that?
This Commissioner Adams, one that I can think of is the impact and the probability of what could happen to people that are quad parents if nothing is done about it. What effect that we have or can have. The effect of what could and can happen if a consumer is asking a question and never get an answer back in time that could cause life-changing scenarios within a period of time. That's all I can think of. Commissioner Butler?
I think going back to what values should be protected, any cuts to service levels is really short-sighted because someone that maybe has minimal needs but still has care needs, if their services are affected, it could escalate really quickly to where then they need a higher level of care, potentially institutionalization. I know that rate cuts for providers, specifically in community-based care, like assisted livings and foster homes, that's on the table to cut rates to those providers. The ripple effect of that could be that we have less providers, less people want to do that work. And right now we're trying to grow that provider base. So just trying to kind of be upstream in their thinking of any potential cuts. Protecting service levels so that people don't have a fall or an injury from not having the care where they need institutionalization, and then not cutting these providers off at the knees, lowering their rates so that we have less providers who want to have foster homes and provide that care, I would think.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Mayor?
I was just thinking that before any rule that APD would want to put out, I think it's important that they maintain a relationship with the people that that rule will affect and ask for their input. Because a lot of times APD may have the best of intentions, but just don't realize what the ripple effect is going to be on the people that they think they're helping. So I would say before any rule or any law or anything like that is proposed, that APD should continue to solicit feedback from all the shareholders as much as they possibly can, so that you get the best rule or the best law that that you're meant to have on behalf of the customer, I guess I would say. I don't know if that's clear or not, but
It is. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is exactly a ripple effect or what I have in mind. And I don't mean to kind of sound rather just kind of without feeling here, but you know, the ripple effect is if we pull back a little bit, if resources are limited, then there will be people that will be affected by that regarding maybe services and other aspects, even employment within the department, but more important, those who are receiving services and so forth. And so those are ripple effects. But at the same time, you know, looking at it just as an issue, you know, we have a system, and if the system can't do all that it needs to do, then it needs to change to a degree. And so the ripple effects is, you know, within that system, there'll be changes. Maybe some will be beneficial, some maybe not so much in regards to a person's services or the scope of their services or some of the supports that they had or would like to have that maybe aren't available any longer. So hopefully with the ripple effects will also come maybe some novel solutions or some other approaches that would supplement any loss of anything. But there will be ripple effects to our system, and that will limit to a degree the services and supports that we have been providing or would like to continue to be providing, but are no longer able, at least temporarily, to do so if there's a limit in resources.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Okay, any last thoughts?
I think we got it all covered, Jenny.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your ideas and your feedback. I think it's very important, especially as advocates. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
So do you guys want to take a break or would you like to continue?
What's on the agenda, Heidi? I think we have a guest speaker at 12:15. If we want to take a break, we just need to I think it's Max. Is it Max Brown?
Max Brown doesn't come until 12:30.
Oh, awesome. And I already did my report, so great.
Do you
So, what's up?
do you have another report, Jenny? Do you need to?
Nope, that's the only one.
Would
Okay.
you like me to see if I could get Max to come a little sooner?
Yes.
And
Okay, let me check this out and I'll let you know.
okay, because we still need to fit in a break, and agency with choice isn't until 12:15. So you could take a break now and then come back in 15 minutes, or Heidi can see if Max could come sooner and then take a break after that. What's everybody's preference?
Let's take a break. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I need a bio break.
Yeah,
Okay.
really.
Okay, then let's take a break and be back at 12:25.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you then.
The recording will keep going during the break, so just be aware of that.
Okay, is everybody back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay. And Heidi, were you able to contact Max?
I think Max is scheduled for 12:30.
Yeah, he is.
I believe he's planning
Yeah.
on being here now-ish, because he did get a message that y'all were coming back from break a little early.
Okay.
Yeah, Max is on too.
Okay.
I'm
Welcome.
sorry, I was talking and I had my microphone off.
Okay. Welcome, Max. Welcome, Justin. You
Thanks,
know,
George.
you now have the floor.
Awesome. Well, here we are in the final few days of the 2026 legislative session. I was just watching the Senate floor hearing. They're debating basically the final bills. The big thing that has still yet to happen is passing the budget bills. Usually they save those for last, and I expect to see those passing in the next day or two. Um, I'm not sure, Max, I'm sure you have the full list of bills that you could potentially run through. Happy to go through those. But I don't know if anybody has any specific questions that they'd like about this legislative session. There's plenty to discuss about how it has gone so far, about the budget process, and really anything, noting that we only have 15 minutes. I don't want to bore you all with a run through of a bunch of bills if that's not what you want from us. So, open to your thoughts before we dive in.
This is Commissioner Adams. Justin, how is 739 holding up?
So, I think you're referring to Senate Bill 1532 includes a provision that gives APD more time to implement Senate Bill 739, which passed last session. That bill has already passed both the Senate and the House, so it is just awaiting a signature from the governor's office. I actually sent an email yesterday. When a bill passes, the governor has to sign it, and she reaches out to state agencies to ask, hey, any concerns about this bill before I sign it? And I sent her a note saying basically, nope, no concerns. In fact, it would be nice if you signed it sooner rather than later, because of some issues having to do with the child welfare parts of that bill. Senate Bill 1532 touches on APD, ODDS, and child welfare. And child welfare was the one standing up saying, hey, could we get a governor's signature on that as soon as possible, please? So I expect that to get signed sometime this or next week.
And I would like for you and Max to elaborate on the bill that was stated in our meetings consisting or considering the Home Care Commission.
Yeah, this is Max speaking. The big bill that we had brought forth to you, I think at the last meeting of the Home Care Commission was Senate Bill 1505, that would have created a workforce standards board for home and community-based services workers. And at that point, at your last meeting, there was the intention, if that bill was moving forward, to introduce an amendment that would only have that workforce board cover direct care workers in the intellectual and developmental disabilities program. Since that time, that bill hasn't moved out of the Senate Rules Committee. So um, there's basically a 99.9% chance that it's not going to get anywhere else during this session. There was no budget note report related to that bill to have a study on it or further work on it. So, for all intents and purposes, that whole bill and that momentum did not go anywhere during this session. And we do expect the 2027 legislative session to probably see another bill come out on that very topic.
Oh yeah.
So is there any bills that will be affecting the Home Care Commission and or consumers at this year?
This is Max. I can't really think of any individual bills directly. Certainly the budget bill and the budget report that goes along with the budget bill is really good to look at. We had our community member legislative update yesterday, and Justin provided a really good summary overview of the budget decisions. In essence, there were only a few reductions within the APD budget, and one of them was because there was some savings to be realized with the delayed implementation of agency with choice. I think it was around $20 million of savings there. So, but in terms of everything else, provider rates and the like, there was no reductions taking on those options there. And so kind of going forth, I can't really think of anything germane to in-home services in particular, or anything under the purview of the Home Care Commission that was affected by legislation during this session. Does anything come to mind for you, Justin, or even bills that were introduced that died? I can't really think of any.
No, I think I would agree with that. There was one that never really got off the ground that I think might have been relevant, but it didn't pass. That was House Bill 4158. And I think because it never moved forward, I never really spent any time understanding exactly what it would have done. But it had to do with overtime laws and the phrase companionship services. And I think the gist of it was they were wanting to ensure that there were no technical ways that that different employment laws would not apply to home care workers. But again, I can't speak all that competently about the bill because I didn't really learn all that much about it. I'm going to try to find a link to. Oh, you know what? Maybe that's not even the bill that I was thinking of. I was going to say I was going to find a link to testimony, but that bill never had a public hearing, so there isn't testimony. I think I'm confusing it with another one.
And Justin, while you're looking for that, there's a bill that affects direct care workers that I guess also of note, and I apologize for not mentioning this earlier, but one that we brought up at the last Home Care Commission meeting, I believe, was House Bill 4115. And this House bill is extending a background check for direct care workers from 2 years to 3 years. And so that bill is moving through the process. I think it's up for a Senate vote. I forget, or maybe it did get passed by both chambers already. Things are really getting voted on quickly during the final hours of the legislative session, but that's moving forward. Another important feature of House Bill 4115 is that it kind of creates a background check that's valid, can be portable for a direct care worker from one setting to another. And that can be really helpful too for someone who might be a direct care worker, say in an assisted living facility, but then they get on the home care worker list and change over to be a home care worker, they still have a good and valid background check for that. And there's no waiting for a new one to be cleared at that point. Justin, did you find it?
I did not. I'm sorry. I wish I hadn't mentioned it now. I'm kind of poring over all of these different bill descriptions, and none of them are jumping out at me as whatever I was thinking about. But I mean, the companionship services bill did not move forward, and I do think that was the stated intention of it. So that was worth mentioning at least.
Mr. Johnson, would you like to ask a question?
I would just express my gratitude to Justin and to Max and others who are representing us and also helping us understand. Thank you for your work and for also coming to us and helping us understand what's likely, what isn't, and what the implications are for these bills. Thank you.
Yeah, always happy to. Thank you very much for having us and for being interested. I do, it's worth just mentioning if there aren't more bill specific questions that this was not the easiest legislative session for anyone. The budget environment was really tough. Obviously there is kind of the overarching conversation around all of the different federal actions that are taking place, be that, individual responses to states around their Medicaid usage, around immigration, the federal budget bill that, of course, led to the tricky state budget conversation that took place. But we did, as Max mentioned, we came out being held relatively harmless. APD did take a couple of very narrowly targeted budget reductions, but not in any way that's going to drastically affect our ability to serve people in the state. Especially not with regard to in-home services. I don't think we expect any impacts there. Yeah, and the budget bill, like I mentioned at the beginning, has not technically passed yet, but the way that process usually works, there just isn't really time at this point in session for there to be any amendments to the budget plan. So what they have laid out so far, either it passes or it doesn't, and I have no reason to think that it won't. So I'm pretty satisfied that we came out ahead of where we thought we would be in the budget, and there are a few different reasons that happened. One of the big ones was just that we had a better revenue forecast than we were expecting about a month ago. We started the session thinking we would have a massive deficit, and then a few days into the session we got a revenue forecast that said we're going to have a slightly less massive deficit. and then some other things shifted between the beginning of session and now. One of the other big ones was Senate Bill 1507 passed, and that bill disconnected Oregon's tax code from certain aspects of the federal tax code. So again, the budget bill that Congress passed last July had a lot of tax cuts included in it for specifically for businesses. And Oregon has disconnected from some of those business tax cuts, meaning that a lot of that revenue is going to stay in the state rather than leaving it. So I don't remember exactly what the final price tag of passing that bill was, but it did lead to some additional funding that the legislature had to kind of move around, and that was a significant factor in not taking more drastic cuts for the Department of Human Services.
Commissioner King, would you like to ask a question?
No, I don't have the questions.
Commissioner McIntyre?
Sorry, I was having technical problems. No, I'm good, thank you.
Commissioner Mayor?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Butler?
No questions for me.
Justin, this is Commissioner Adams again. We'd like your intake, Justin and Max, of what you had thought of about the 3 parts that is doing each year for 2026, 27, and 2028 of the HR1 bill. What is your take on it?
I don't think I know all of the individual moving parts of HR1 well enough to comment on the different aspects of it. I mean, it definitely, we would not be in the budget situation we are in if that bill had not passed. And it's going to lead to some heightened challenges for people, specifically people who are trying to receive nutrition assistance. It doesn't have particularly large impacts on people who are receiving Medicaid long-term services and supports, which are primarily what APD and ODDS services are. I think thankfully that is not a I'll say politically palatable thing to cut, specifically around services for people with disabilities and older adults. That sort of I refer to it as a political third rail. No one wants to touch it because it makes them very unpopular with their voters. So, but of course, there are huge swaths of people receiving those long-term services and supports that are also dependent on nutrition assistance. Making it more challenging to access nutrition assistance impacts the people that we serve. Thankfully, part of what was built into the agency budget was additional resources for the self-sufficiency program, SSP, which is one of the other divisions in the Department of Human Services that oversees nutrition assistance. HR1 requires them to do a whole bunch of extra eligibility checks and rechecks for people who want to receive nutrition assistance. And doing that work included a pretty hefty ask from the legislature to get additional resources. And we got them, thankfully. Those are built into the budget. So hopefully we will at least be able to maintain nutrition assistance for everyone who is still eligible.
Yeah, and this is Max. One of the other things too, in addition to hiring more people to take on the workload of verifying employment or the work requirements for those populations that are affected by it, there was also an allocation to backfill monies for the administration of the Supplemental Nutritious Assistance Program. That we have a lower match now from the federal government because of HR1. It takes effect in October of 2026. So the latter part of this biennium, they allocated those funds to make up for that federal shortfall for the administration of that program in this budget bill and budget reconciliation bill that was passed this session. And more to come in 2027. It's really going to be a challenging session and probably 2029 as well, if nothing changes significantly on HR1.
Now, I don't want to put you two on the spot here, but do you think you may not know the answer to this, but with this HR1 that's been floating around in three separate different years, is that going to, how bad of an impact is it going to put our Oregon State providers? Is it going to increase them or is it going to decrease them?
I think, you know, the impacts it's going to have are built into the budget that the legislature is passing right now. So the fact that that we came out relatively unharmed from the budget process, I think means it's not going to have the biggest effect on our provider community. You know, uh, it remains to be seen whether there are a whole bunch of other aspects of HR1 that have nothing to do with human services, and it remains to be seen whether any of those changes affect the number of people needing services. I can't really speculate on all of the potential downstream impacts, but the top line message I think is thankfully we got a pretty good budget bill this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is Max. To your question, Commissioner Adams, there's definitely, some concerns, and you might have read the headlines last fall when there were some initial projections. And there's still some significant costs that are going to be anticipated over a multi-year period on the Medicaid side. I think from what I remember last fall, the projected $10 billion of loss over several years to the Medicaid program with HR1 unless something changes. But again, there are a lot of elements of HR1 that didn't directly affect older adults and people with disabilities receiving services. A lot of it was really focused on the what they call I forget the acronym that's associated with it, but individuals between the age of 18 and 64 who don't have a disability determination and the work requirements that are placed upon them are pretty significant. There's also some changes that to the provider taxes for hospitals and for, I believe, managed care organizations, but HR1 didn't affect nursing facility provider taxes. So that was another element to kind of point out, but it is a significant impact on the hospital and the managed care provider taxes that we tax those entities and then we draw down federal matching funds and there's I don't know the specifics to it, but that could have an effect on our access to federal funds for the Medicaid program as a whole in the years to come.
Okay. Is no more questions for Justin and Max, right? I see none. Is Jason here? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, Jason is not here. He canceled today because he didn't have any updates. So, no, nothing more to report on than there was last month.
Okay.
I do have a couple of things I want to point out in the chat, Commissioner Adams.
Okay.
I put the information about the Together We Plan Community and Tribe budget session, the link to find that information, those recordings, and then also the link to the survey related to the AR agency requested budget presentation and questions we did today. So if you can think of anything in addition that you would like to include with those questions or in your answers to those questions, you can select that link.
Okay. So do we have anything more on the agenda since Jason is not coming on board?
That's it for today.
Okay. Justin, I want to tell you and Max, you guys are doing a wonderful job in keeping us updated, both outside and inside of the Home Care Commission here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and like I said, I appreciate your interest. Feel free to keep asking us back.
Yeah, because the way I feel about this, it's very important, not for only for myself, but others to know what's ahead and what we need to do and what we can't do.
Yeah, well, thank you all. Sounds like you're probably wrapping up, but I'm gonna take off.
Okay.
This is Max. Thank you all again, and I hope that y'all have a lovely March. And Heidi, I really loved seeing your holiday decor yesterday. If
Oh,
you,
thank you.
that's awesome.
It's good to see you in the office.
I did think it was Christmas themed for a second, and then I looked a little closer. Oh, March.
No, it's St. Patrick's.
Yeah.
I live from one holiday to the next, Justin.
Awesome. That's a good way to do it.
Everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day, right?
There you go. Okay, well, take care, everybody. Have a good week.
Wait,
And
Heidi,
yes.
George needs to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before we go, I want to ask commissioners and Jenny, when are we going to be addressing the next chair, co-chair, or the chair and vice chair
Oh,
meeting?
thank you for bringing that up. I did look up the information on our bylaws and I wanted to tell you what it said. Okay, so it says in the event of an unexpected vacancy in the chair or vice chair role, the commission shall appoint an interim chair or vice chair from existing commissioners until a new chair or vice chair is elected. I don't know if we ever talked during our discussions with the bylaws about how that appointment would happen. So one, we should probably discuss what that means. And then if anybody is interested in serving as the interim chair, and then talk about having a vote at our next meeting, electing a new chair.
Well,
So,
to let everybody know, all the commissioners and such, I'm willing to go forward, be an interim chair until a decision is made for a new chair and vice chair. I don't have a problem with that.
Do we need a motion to that effect?
I'm going to say yes. And then also ask if anybody else is interested in being considered for the interim chair.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Because I'm going to make a motion, if I don't hear anybody else, that George be the interim chair until we duly elect a new chair. Does anybody want to put your hand up? Okay, then I move that George Adams be the interim chair until we elect a properly duly elected chair
And vice chair.
and vice chair.
This is Commissioner King. I'll second that.
Hey,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Then I would, okay, where do we go from here, Jenny?
So it sounds to me that the motion passed.
yep.
Any discussion? None. Sounds like George Adams, you are the interim chair of the Oregon Home Care Commission. Congratulations.
Now, next meeting, do I understand that we would be voting on someone? Don't we have to ask people, is someone going to go
Yeah.
out with an email and ask if anyone is interested in the chair position?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So I'll send out an email. If anybody's interested, then they'll be able to speak at the next commission meeting and we'll vote, unless you want to wait to have that vote until a later commission meeting.
Well, I think what we may want to do is you send out the email, people indicate that they're interested. At the next meeting, maybe they can give us a short synopsis of what they would like to do as chair. I don't know whether we need vice chair right now, technically or not, because George is the duly elected vice chair. Now, if he moves up, if he moves up, then we would be looking for a vice chair. But until then, the bylaws seem pretty clear about we would just fill one position, correct?
Yeah, it just says, in the event of an unexpected vacancy in the chair or vice chair role, the commission shall appoint an interim chair or vice chair from existing commissioners until a new chair or vice chair is elected.
Okay, so technically, we still have a vice chair.
We're just doing two positions.
Yeah, he's just doing two
Yeah,
positions.
I mean, we do
Yeah.
because he's interim.
Yeah, right.
So,
I also want you to consider whether you want to make any changes in the bylaws because it's pretty limited now, preferences given to individuals who receive services. But just something to think about, like if it's limiting too much your choice of commissioner, chair, vice chair, just something to keep in mind. Because we also put in the bylaws that somebody would need to be on the commission for at least a year before they could be considered chair or vice chair.
I wonder if need be, if we got to the point where we could maybe waive that or not. But the other thing too is part of the conversation is not only the chair or vice chair, but we need to recruit again some more members from the consumer side of things because we just want to make sure that we have all the full numbers that we're allowed. The commission is.
I know, honey.
We want to do that and make that a priority as well. And maybe I don't know if it's if there was an individual on the commission currently who has not been here a year who wanted to serve. I don't know if we have the authority to waive that on a one-time basis or not, but it could be worth considering.
You can't waive that.
Can't waive it.
Depending on how they change your bylaws, usually it's at least 30 or 45 days or whatever it is that you have to bring the proposed change before the committee or before the commission.
Okay.
So we couldn't make a waiver because it's not in the bylaws. As I recall, we didn't make a waiver for that.
Okay. But I just want to say, and I know this would be the sentiment of others as well, so I'm not.
No, you make a good point.
No.
I'm just saying procedurally, parliamentary procedure would not let us waive it.
Right. But
we could change it. But we could change it.
Okay. My greater concern actually is looking for more members as well, because as long as we have a chair, maybe that vice chair position can remain open for a reasonable amount of time. But I most want to. I know it's a challenge. I know that we're constantly looking for those new members, commissioners, but I think we want to continue to keep that focus as much as possible at this point.
David, sounds like you got some work to do.
Ms. Sara is right on it, George, but thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, didn't know
I was
that.
just thinking it.
And remember, we need your help to spread the word. So anybody that you know who may be a good fit for the commission who receives in-home services, you may want to have a discussion with them.
Yeah, okay, so I will see you all. See, this is March. I'll see you in April's meeting. And you all be safe and such, and I'll see you in April's meeting, meeting adjourned.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Thank you.